Hey everyone, welcome back. You'll be pleased to know I'm back in the loft and I have acquired myself some birds, and we will get right onto that. But as I'm sure you know, or you saw the thumbnail, first of all I'm going to talk about the proposals by Ian Evans, and the good news is they've gone to the AGM, the RPRA AGM. And I just want to talk about why this is important, and as well as that, sort of give you a rundown as to what they are, or what I feel my understanding of them is, because I know a lot of people are being asked by clubs and stuff to vote on these proposals, and not everybody really knows what it's all about. So I'll try my best to give a rundown as to what I feel it's all about, based on what I've read and the interviews I've seen and the feedback I've had, and hopefully I can try and explain that to you guys through this video. So here we go. From my understanding, and what seems to be the general consensus, is these proposals by Ian Evans and the Welsh region and some of the East region are a rewrite of the rulebook. What it does is completely pulls out some of the existing rules and changes them and rewrites them and all of that. And what it does is it removes the regional structure we have currently and brings everything to a centralised location. An executive panel of 5 members voted on by the members of the RPRA, which is people like me, you, whoever else flies at your club, that sort of thing. And it simplifies the whole process. Now, I understand that can be seen as scary. It's a lot of changes, and just going to go and break down what this would mean for us members and the sport as a whole, I think, if this proposal does go through. Right, I'll give you a rundown of 5, I'll break it down into sort of 5 sections, and I'll give you a sort of rundown through those. Top of the list, absolutely, is efficiency and cost. The regional structure currently costs us around 80,000 to possibly even 90,000 pounds a year. I'm sure by now we all saw, especially last year, the accounts of the RPRA, and it was on a downward trend. We had to pay the levy last year, so it took the subs up to £35 a year. That impact, especially the way it came across, led many of us to actually question where our money is going. And by voting for these proposals and voting them through and centralising the governance of the sport away from these region councils, it means we can centralise the admin and therefore save a lot of that money and then reinvest that money into the future of the sport. Right, on to point 2, we're going to simplify the governance of the sport. We're going to remove, or I'll say the plan is to remove the councils, or the regional councils. I think there's 13 at the minute. You know, there's a panel of councillors. The plan is to remove all of these and again centralise that governance and simplify it. It'll be a 5-person panel and then the CEO. 5 people will be voted on each year to keep their position or change out their positions. The 5 people will be able to deal with rule changes, and along with the CEO will actually have the power to implement rules and act on them accordingly as and when they're needed. Under the current system, you know, it could be at best 6 months, at worst 12 months away from when a rule is proposed to when it's actually implemented, and that's assuming that the rule it goes through first time. If it's rejected, you have to start that process again. There's no just modifying it and tweaking it and then accepting it then. You know, for example, if this rule doesn't go through to propose these changes, we can't just tweak it and then resubmit it and a week later it be approved. It has to go away, be completely reworked, be submitted again in another 6 months to go back on the agenda for the AGM next year, to then go back out to the regions and have the club's feedback on that. So yeah, the 5-man panel and the CEO, that will reduce all of that. The plan is also to bring in 1 member, 1 vote. Can't get any simpler than that. It means that votes can be done online. You know, you'd log in, for example, with your loft number, see the proposals and vote either for or against. It comes directly to you. It would mean those members of the RPRA that are not affiliated with clubs, so they only do one-off races or only race in the nationals, they can get a say in what they want to happen with the sport. Currently, they're paying their membership fees. I think it's £35 for subs this year, and they're under the current system, because they have no attached club, those members are effectively silenced. They cannot propose rules and they cannot submit rules to the region, because they are individual members on their own. Under the new system, you'd be able to propose rules as an individual member. And some of these points are flowing into multiple sections. Obviously, there'll need to be a transition period. The current CEO, Chris Sutton, he's doing a job at the minute, but he's doing that job with his hands tied behind his back. Because of the way it's set up, he has no power to influence how votes go and how rules are implemented. He's very much restricted by the way this existing archaic structure is. He recently put out in his notes following the AGM saying that he's concerned at these proposals, and dance around his words a bit again, has threatened that these changes are putting the sport at risk and effectively will be impossible to implement. It's not true. If the members vote for it, they can be implemented. There are systems now that allow us to build databases, allow us to do the voting online, and it'll be a lot cheaper than 4 or 5 people sat in an office going through it manually. Now obviously there are going to be pros and cons to the proposal. We're not saying it's going to be perfect from the off. I don't think anybody's saying it's going to be perfect, but the current system we have also is not perfect. In fact, I'd consider it a long way from perfect. The CEO obviously called for evolution, not revolution. In my opinion, we've had, what is it, nearly 100 years, over 100 years of evolution, and this is where it's led us. We're still using the same systems we were 100 years ago, the same rules. So, for the pros, we're going to streamline the decision making. It's going to save thousands and thousands of pounds of the members' money, because ultimately it's our sport, it's our members, our money that's being invested in the sport. As well as that, it can increase member feedback, and currently we're told that the members don't engage with the regions and with the councils, And I think a lot of that is to do with members not understanding the process of how it works. One member, one vote removes the confusion. I feel we'll definitely have a lot more member feedback and member engagement. To me, again, it allows the CEO to actually make decisions as and when they're needed. We worked under a very similar situation under COVID, and when that was managed, it went to an executive panel and decisions were made very, very quickly. We didn't have to wait 6 months, like a year, to get rules in place, to get racing again. We were able to act on it quickly and get it moving. Understandably, there are going to be some concerns, lack of regional representation being one of them. I can understand members' concerns if, for example, sorry, if a lot of the executive panel come from a certain region, you may have that bias, and racing rules dictated away from other regions and in favour of other regions. That's understandable. Another concern is obviously about the transition period. It's going to be bumpy. It wouldn't be a day one switch. We're going to have some time to implement systems. But again, Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to trust in the process for it to work. And another concern I've seen floated about is about people of an older generation, perhaps, not being so good on technology. And I think this more or less a major one that is floated about. And it's an argument I remember being thrown about when ETS systems first came in. And they were saying, oh, it's going to kill the sport, this, that and the other, because older people aren't going to pay fortunes for that, and they are not going to understand it because it's electronic technology. I implore you, go down your club, see how many of the older generations are still on the T3 clocks versus the ETS. We're very good at adapting. We might not like it at first, but we've got to embrace technology. That's how we're going to save the sport as a whole. And by bringing in modern systems and controls and technology, that's the way we're going to improve the sport. There's plenty of younger members like myself that can help people. How long does it take to pop down the library? I'm sure there are still libraries. They have access to computers at the library. I'm sure you could ask your secretaries at your clubs. I'm not saying that answer suits everyone, but I'm sure you can find somebody out there with a computer. I mean, you're watching this on YouTube now. You managed to do that. Is it going to be so hard to log into a portal to cast your vote? Is it going to be easier to be able to cast your vote than travel to your club, cast your vote at the club send a delegate to your region, who then has to feed that back and forth and back and forth? I think it's going to be easier. I think we'll adapt. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a fair few of these videos, absolutely, and I think you should. The more you watch, the more information you're going to get on the subject, and hopefully the more you understand it, because I think this is a big point, a big crossroads in the sport and how we're going to go. By all means, seek out other videos. There's going to be, like I say, there's going to be a few about. Feel free to leave your questions and discussions in the comments. It's one of these. I encourage you to, you're going to be asked at your clubs which way you want to vote, and make sure, all I'm going to say is make sure your clubs have the information to back up the vote. you know, don't let it, if it's something you're interested in, don't let it be dismissed by oh, it's tearing up the rule book, or do you want it to stay as it is. You know, these proposals are being proposed for the future of the sport. They're not doing it to get back at anything, you know, and cause problems, and it's coming from a genuine place of concern. So I'm going to leave it there. I think I've approaching 20 minutes on this video, recording wise anyway. So yeah, if you've made it this far, please like, share, subscribe. Make sure to comment in, you know, in the comments down below. Leave your opinion. I think you know where my opinion is on it. Am I going to block anybody and rave about them if they see the other way? No. Might not talk to you for a couple of days, but that's different. Of course, no, I'm joking. Get involved in the comments, share your opinions, and hopefully we can look forward to some good racing this year. See you soon.